Yes, let's go.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the board meeting. Mr. Snyder, if we could have roll call, please.
Mr. Finaro.
Here.
Ms. Grosick.
Here.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Hughes. Mr. Tressi.
And this evening, we have a very special guest, Kendall Murchison. If you would come help us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then stay right up there, and we'll be right with you.
Hand this to you. The flag is right there. I'm going to stand over here, okay?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just stay right here. I'll be right over, okay? Man, this. Nice job.
Come on. Right up here, Kendall. Good evening, everyone.
Right up there.
We have a very special and beautiful guest with us here today. And how many of you are here for Kendall? Raise your hand. That would be all of you. Excellent. Let's see that show of hands again. Kendall, this is your fan club right here, okay? Absolutely your fan club. So, Kendall, we have a lot of nice things to say about you, okay? How you feeling? Doesn't Kendall look beautiful? Okay, round of applause. Very nice. So, Kendall, I'm going to read all this stuff about you, okay? The Mayfield City School District and the Mayfield Board of Education present this proclamation. That's the nice one. This one's just for me to read. To you, Kendall Murchison, Student of the Month from Gates Mills Elementary School. Whereas, it is not many times one can say a fifth grade student is an incredible entrepreneur. But that is one of the many wonderful words that best describe you. Whereas Kendall started a business in third grade, Kendall's Cookies. How many of you have bought them? You will now. Okay, thank you very much. New customers, right? She has sold her product at a venue in downtown Cleveland, at her church, in the lobby of her apartment complex, and is often seen handing out flyers about her baked goods. Did you bring any tonight? Not tonight. Not appropriate. Okay. I'm working for you, though. Kendall is a unique and hardworking young lady who is driven to succeed even at such a young age. And whereas Kendall is a kind, giving, and above all, hardworking fifth grader. After dedicating herself to a lot of studying, Kendall placed second in the GOB. Round of applause. Second place in the GOB is good. Kendall also was selected to be on the student team for the creation of the Gates Mills Elementary Idea Lab because she's a good listener and thoughtful in her work. And whereas Kendall is compassionate, she leads quietly, but all of her classmates look up to her. She is a positive young lady who will leave a wonderful impression at Gates Mills Elementary. Whereas now, therefore, it be resolved, on behalf of all of us in the Mayfield school community, Kendall Murchison is named the Mayfield Board of Education Student of the Month for Gates Mills Elementary School. Congratulations. Now we're going to take off and get pictures.
Congratulations. There's a little pin for you. Watch a chair. Fall over it.
There we go.
Oh, the family, yeah. Come on out. Here we go.
Do we need you all in the picture
Yeah,
as well?
you guys, yeah, absolutely.
Take a picture for you?
Okay.
Great, let's get this chair. Wait, hang on. There we go.
Do we need that chair?
I don't know.
Another round of applause for Kendall and her family. Thank you. Over there.
Congratulations.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Fulton Cross, like the troublemaker? No.
Congratulations, Kendall.
Put it off the bed.
I was going to just move it out of the way.
I'll walk it.
You walk
I'll
it?
go into my
Hey, thanks. Thanks. Please walk that.
And at this time, we also have a presentation by Gates Mills. Speaking of the wonderful things in Gates Mills.
Got it? Oh, I love that part. It's my favorite part of the whole presentation. I have to give a shout out to Jen Hancock, who put this wonderful slideshow together for us. She is a rock star. Board members, Dr. Kelly, I will have to put my glasses on. Thank you for inviting Gates Mills to present tonight and share some of the things going on at Gates Mills. I've invited two of our instructional leaders, Michelle Dominic, who will receive her tenure tonight, 4th grade teacher, and Betsy Gray, our 2nd grade teacher. We're going to talk to you tonight about our instructional leadership team. And our team this year was divided up into 3 small groups. They did it on their own, and they chose which group they wanted to be in. Each group chose a building goal to work on and research and develop the steps to complete that goal within the school year. They would research twice a month, and then they would present what they learned at the staff meetings. I'm going to let Mrs. Gray work.
So as Mrs. Bender mentioned, as a part of the ILT, when we got together to decide our building goals, we wanted to make sure that we had intentional connections to district initiatives. So we went through and we designed 3 building goals that we felt would also be reflective of what the district had as an initiative this year as well. So the first one was to utilize problem-based learning to deepen student learning and achievement within both the classroom and, of course, our brand new Idea Lab. So a couple of things happened this year that were really instrumental in helping us to reach that goal. And the first was to have some building training with Jennifer Hancock. We have this fantastic space with all of these new gadgets and things we can use with the kids. But it wasn't useful to us until we knew how to use those and put them in the hands of the students in a purposeful way. So Jennifer came in and she did 2 different training sessions with us, a K2 training session and a 3, 4, 5 session, so that we could best implement those items in our Idea Lab and the classroom as well. The next was the development of a project-based learning day. And this will be happening for Gates Mills as a culminating activity next Friday. It is our Giving Back to the Community Day. And Ms. McCullough has been instrumental in connecting us with different organizations and community places around Gates Mills so that each grade level will be assigned a particular place to go and do some community service. So we have some students going to Stars Restaurant, we have some students going to the library, we have students going to the local church, we even have some students hopefully going over to the Hunt Club to work with the hounds. So we're very excited about that. It's going to be our Community Giving Back Day, and it's sort of a school-wide project-based learning day. And then, of course, we looked at different ways that we could implement this problem-based learning in different places. In the Idea Lab, which happened quite a bit with our students when they were visiting that during part of their library time. And one particular example is when they had to develop a stronger chair for Goldilocks. So they had this problem. They had all these various materials available to them. Some small motor kinds of things they could use, some electronic, some large motor ideas, and they were each given the task of designing that stronger chair. And then in a classroom setting, for example, we had our end of the quarter performance task. So for example, in 2nd grade, our students had spent the entire 3rd quarter researching different continents around the earth, and they picked one to write about, and then with the help of Mrs. Hancock again, they got to go to the Idea Lab and do some 3D printing, and each student walked away with a 3D printed model of the continent that they spent the time researching. So that was our deepening student learning through problem-based learning. And our 2 staff members who really kind of took that over were Sue Stevenson and Michelle Dominic. They led that for us. Our next building goal was the use of technology to help promote personalized and individualized learning for our commitment to transforming instruction. Again, that direct connection to a district initiative. This was a committee that I served on. What was nice about this was it really was an example of personalized learning for staff members too. As part of the ILT, we got to pick the goal that we felt we wanted to research more. And so it was really nice to be able to plan not only for our own learning, but the learning of our students. And I worked on this committee with Annette Sketchka. The first thing we did is we surveyed the staff to find out what is your comfort level with personalized learning, what is your knowledge of personalized learning, and what is your current implementation of personalized learning. So once we had that survey, then she and I could do some research and find some videos and articles to help support the staff where they were. And then we also looked at some ways that we could start to utilize some of the technology that was given us this year. Having the Chromebooks, and for some classrooms, having that as one-on-one is such a huge plus in being able to implement that personalized learning. And using programs like Lexia and Reflex as well. And Google Classroom. Being a second grade teacher, it's the first year that kids have Chromebooks in their hands. And to think about where they were that week one, where I was sweating, getting everybody to log in, to where they are now, and I can say to them, hey, boys and girls, log into Google Classroom and pull up your Google Doc. We're going to do some editing today. And I don't have to help a single person in the room. It's a beautiful thing. And that leads us to our next piece of personalized learning that's connected to the district initiative of the Teacher's Guild. And Ms. Dominic's going to explain a little bit more about that.
Hello. My name's Michelle Dominic. I'm the 4th grade teacher at Gates Mills Elementary. I was a part of the district-wide Teachers Guild. The Teachers Guild is a professional community that activates teachers' creativity to solve the biggest challenges in education today. We utilize the design thinking process. This involves teachers tapping into their inner designer by trying new ideas and discovering what works and why for their students and schools. So what we came up with was first we needed to develop some empathy for our students. So everyone on the Teachers Guild spent the day observing a student, and I was able to go to the middle school and follow a 6th grader. And then we came back to share our ideas. Our challenge and problem was, how can we better personalize learning for our students, make it more self-paced, and give more time for project-based learning? So we came up with different ideas to solve this problem, and all of us came up with restructuring our time in the school day. So at 4th grade, in my classroom, I worked on how can I restructure my time in the school day to personalize the learning in my 4th grade classroom. In the middle, you can see the design process, starting with empathy, observing our students' needs, then ideate, generating new ideas, building. We made our ideas tangible. I did this by taking a look at our traditional schedule and tweaking it so that it was more of a workshop model throughout the whole day, encompassing all subject areas. Test. We tried new ideas, and then we gathered feedback from students and looked at data from their test scores. Iterate. We refined the ideas based on student feedback and the data we collected. Finally, we shared. We shared with other districts and with teachers in our building. And now the students are very excited in my classroom. They use a Chromebook extension, which is a to-do list, and it's personalized based on their individualized goals. And all day they check off what work they need done, and they're able to do more hands-on, self-paced, project-based learning.
And so our last goal, our last group, their learning was centered around how do we continue to build our positive behavior program that we have already in place at Gates Mills. One of the things that we did was monthly random acts of kindness that were surprises to the children backed by the PTC, which was really fun. And the kids all thought it was Officer, oops, I'm giving it away. I have no clue who's doing that. No clue. The next thing is this year that we put in place our Safe Pledge. Kendall's just going to quickly tell you about how we do the Safe Pledge.
My fifth grade class, we broke into 4 groups, and we basically put like a bully box together and these posters together to put around the school about being safe with bullying and no bullying. And we did these kindness tickets that it's like if a kid does something good, they get a ticket, and then we put it in a raffle and we spin it, and whoever wins, they got a prize. And then we made up a safe pledge, which is we say it every day for the announcements. We say S, speaking up when others need help, and A, appreciating others and being a good friend, F, feeling empowered to do what is right, and then E is encouraging others. And then we say that so we can like be safe and know that we like to stop bullying stuff. And for the Bully Buster box, they put like the logo for like NBA for like no bullying allowed.
We do mind break stations. We're putting those together. One of the favorites right now is the Lego table, but we're going to have some more of those put in place. And our final addition to our positive behavior is the Fox Award this year. It's an additional recognition where we're truly above and beyond behavior and leading by example. Fabulous, outstanding, extraordinary. So for this one, Kendall, I'm going to give all of you a Fox Award. And Kendall has a thank you for letting us share what we did with our ILT this year. I think it was a really great connection with the district and the vision for the district and the teachers and my own personal life.
Ms. Bender, I have to say that your presentation, as always, is very impressive. And Kendall, you being here is very impressive and very wonderful. You are a wonderful public speaker, so congratulations at being able to do that in front of all of these people. All of the special learning that you've got going on in the building is extremely, extremely impressive. And I also hear, Ms. Bender, that you received a proclamation yesterday from the council. Well-deserved, because Gates Mills overall is going to well miss you. You've done a great job in your leadership, and it shows. I'm really excited to have you later. Thank you.
All the children in the entire Gates Mills School made a book for Mrs. Bender with all of their thoughts and how they feel about her and how much they're going to miss her.
Wow.
And Kendall, if I didn't know, we'd have bought your cookies instead of the cake. We would have done that.
What's your website? Do you have a website? No, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet?
All right.
You need a
Okay.
website, that's right. But we have several special educators here this evening who have all earned tenure. And I know I need to go to the mic. And I would like to ask, before I begin, I'd like to ask all the families who are here with those fine educators to please stand, just very quickly. Please stand. The families and the friends who came to support them. We just all want to thank you for giving us and allowing us to spend so much time with these wonderfully talented educators who spend so much time with students in and out of the school. And we know that infringes on a lot of your family time. But we appreciate you being patient with all the time that they put in day and day out and on the weekends and at nights and all the other things that they do. So thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. So each of these teachers have earned a very special night, and that is the opportunity to earn tenure, which in our profession is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And around here, it's a big deal to earn that privilege of tenure. And they go through quite the evaluation process. Part of that process includes writing a narrative for me to read, and for them to kind of talk about who they are, what they believe in, the things that they've accomplished. So we have quite a few here tonight, and I've read all of them, and I've taken notes on all of them. So you're going to have to, and they're kind of bulleted down, but you're going to have to just indulge me a little bit here while we say some nice things about each one of these special educators, because I think it's due and they've earned it. So I'm going to ask Laura Cayon to come up first. Laura? So Laura's a second grade. Yes, you do have to stand here through all this. That's part of the process, right? This is good. Don't read my notes because they may not all be good. Okay. No. Laura's a second grade teacher at Center School. She's a Mayfield grad.
Woohoo!
Round of applause, right? Laura's also taught kindergarten. She is trained in foundations and implementing writing workshop techniques. Am I right on that? Okay. She's been part of the blended learning pilot team. And what you heard here tonight from Gates Mills is really a district initiative on blended learning, personalized learning, project-based learning, all kind of melded together to engage students. And that's the idea, to engage students in very rigorous, deep meaning. And certainly Laura is one of our leaders in that. She's a member of our instructional leadership team in the building and has helped to support the workshop model, Lexia, the implementation of Lexia, Illuminate, and personalized learning, as I've said. She's a member of the Climate Committee and the Creation Station team. Mrs. Rettino writes that Laura creates fun, engaging, and authentic learning experiences for her students. Laura, thank you and congratulations. Laura Camino. Oh, yeah. Well, you can come back if you want. We can read it again. This Laura, okay, works at Mayfield High School as an intervention specialist, very special education teacher, of which I was one at one time, long time ago. Believes that she has the most important job in the world. Laura is proud of the co-teaching that she has done with her math and science colleagues. And Laura has been awarded the Myrtle Olson Award, which is the Big Brothers and Big Sisters Program Award. And that's impressive. That's probably little known by a lot of people. You established the Diversity Club at the high school. Mr. Legan writes, Laura is her students' greatest cheerleaders and one of their biggest advocates. Laura writes, working with our students and developing relationships with them and with their families are two of the most rewarding experiences in my career. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Michelle Dominic. Now, you've seen Michelle here already today, but Michelle works in 4th and 5th grade. She's also served as a reading and gifted intervention specialist. She's part of the instructional leadership team, part of the math task force, the Teachers Guild, described as a technology whiz who incorporates tech daily into the classroom, as you've already heard here tonight, so it was a nice segue for me. Mrs. Bender writes, Michelle is an innovative and forward-thinking teacher. Michelle writes, one of my greatest accomplishments has been to personalize learning for through choice and technology for her students. So thank you. Congratulations. Stacy Cole, are you here? Stacy? Stacy is a speech pathologist at the preschool, also a Mayfield High School graduate. You want me to tell the year? 2004, good, excellent, outstanding, that's what I have. Okay. As a student, Stacy was inspired by the hearing impaired program and the med tech program. That's impressive. You've helped organize kindergarten screenings here. You've presented evidence-based speech programs to your colleagues in other places. You have provided PD on early language deficits. And Mrs. Harrison writes, Mrs. Cole is student-focused and makes all of her decisions based on what is best for her kids. Stacy writes, watching early learners blossom reminds her that she was destined for this job. That's pretty sweet, isn't it? That's pretty cool. So congratulations. Lauren Krupar. Lauren is a middle school health and PE teacher. You formed a unicycle club. Can you do that? Not anymore. Okay. Co-monitor of the morning recreation program. Helped to run the intramural program. Works with the varsity high school swim team and has worked with the middle school swim team. Do I have that right? You've worked with your colleagues to reimagine the middle school elective program, which is really going to be special this year. And I know that you spent a lot of hard work on that, which is going to give kids some amazing choices to follow their passions and really engage in some deep learning through the new elective program at the middle school in a variety of ways. Lauren writes, I have always made it a priority to know who my students are. The personal touch is important. Congratulations. Randy Myers. Randy is a center school PE teacher, physical education. He spent 9 years in the Ohio National Guards as a staff sergeant and squad leader involved in hurricane relief in Puerto Rico. And I believe, are you still part of the National Guard? No, I'm out. You're out now, okay. You've organized a student letter writing campaign to deployed soldiers. You're expanding your knowledge in the field of health and fitness through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. You're on the Center Climate Committee. And yesterday I saw the culmination of this, but that this project-based learning kickball game that Randy and some of his colleagues organized with the kids, they posed a problem to them. They wanted to make kickball, which is a simple game, more inclusive and more active, and with more participants in it than ever before. And yesterday it culminated at the high school with all the fifth graders from all the high schools there with signs and cheering on their teams, and it was really cool to see how so many kids participated in that. That was great work. And it's, as much as it is the kickball game, it's the process you put the kids through to tackle a problem like that, to say, okay, how can we reimagine this? So great work. It reinforces everything we do here at Mayfield. And you also developed the Adopt a Cyclone program. So we're very proud of you. Congratulations. Caitlin Moore. Caitlin teaches third grade at Mill Ridge. Now this is not going to surprise you, right? You wanted to be a teacher since the time you were 7 years old. Is that right? Okay. Because you were playing teacher with your friends in the basement. I could absolutely see that. You helped to form Girls on the Run and are very involved in that. You participate in the Science Showcase. You do an after-school tutoring program. You're on the Math Task Force Committee. You're very involved in the One School, One Book program. Part of a team that piloted the Homework Choice Board, and I don't know if people really know what that is, but it gives kids choice and voice and how it is to make homework more meaningful at home, which is very cool. Mr. Karoff writes, students respond to Caitlin's caring personality and personalized approach. Caitlin writes, I am open-minded and eager to try innovative practices that benefit students. I try for open communication with my families and care deeply for my kids. So congratulations. Sarah Preeter, first grade teacher at Lander. And you began subbing here, right? 2011. How did I know that? I went through your personnel file. No, you actually wrote it in your narrative. Okay, good. I'll just check to see if you wrote it yourself. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's perfect. Okay. You've been involved in numerous external PD activities in this district in math, reading, work with the visually impaired and literacy programs. At Lander, You're part of the ELA curriculum study team, the Makerspace Committee, the Land of Rocks Committee, the MTest Committee, or the MTest Pilot Committee. Sarah writes, my first graders fill me with joy because of their sweet, unique personalities. I cannot help but to love my job. Mrs. Evans states that you are always learning and willing to try something new to help any child. So congratulations. Bob Race. Bob teaches science at Mayfield Middle School. He's taught in 3 states, 7 schools, and 5 school districts. Really? Okay, that's the excuse. I get it. Okay. He has led his colleagues through a 2-year book study called The Innovator's Mindset. And Bob is perhaps one of the most creative, innovative teachers that I've come across anywhere, quite frankly. And he's constantly inspiring his colleagues to try innovative class techniques and practices in the classroom. He's part of the Blended Learning Action Research Team and the Personalized Learning Action Research Team. Mr. Ray says that these teams will continue to work on developing revolutionary and innovative approaches to educating middle school students. Mr. Destino says that when one is in Mr. Ray's classroom, one immediately knows that they are in a special place. That is a big compliment. Congratulations. Whitney Sikora. Now, Whitney has 2 of the cutest daughters I think I've ever seen. And one of them drew me a picture tonight. And, yeah, here they come. Look at that. Whitney is a teacher of the gifted at Millridge. She spent 7 years teaching in South Carolina, where she learned that there is depth. Now, this is really profound right here. There is depth and complexity, not just within her lessons, but within the lives and the relationships of her students. Those are very powerful words right there, very powerful words. She has worked in 3 of the 4 elementary schools in the district. You're involved in the STEAM planning and makerspace design committees. You participate in field trips to the Innovation Center where the kids have really learned a lot and have a lot of fun doing it. Hey. And Mr. Karoff writes, Whitney models the profile of a Mayfield Wildcat interactions and desires to try something new. She is one of the leaders of our building. So congratulations. Absolutely. Thank you. Melissa Spagutz. Now, you know, Melissa and I both go to title boxing. But you wouldn't know it looking at me. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I know that whatever we're doing, she's doing it 10 times as fast as I do it. Melissa is passionate about all children receiving a top-notch education regardless of socioeconomic status. How important in today's world. And by the way, that's what every student every day really means. Proposed and implemented the current environmental science course. Worked to create blended learning lessons, align achievement scales, and modify assessments within the physical science curriculum. Good work. Created the Wildcat Yoga Club, advisor for the Environmental Club, is involved in the Mayfield Service Learning Program. Mr. Legan writes, you are an energetic, dedicated, engaging, and enthusiastic teacher, and I know that to be true. And you write, teaching at Mayfield School is a source of pride, excitement, and fulfillment. Congratulations. Bill Whaley. Bill's a CBI virtual math teacher at the Environmental Education Program as part of the Excel Tech programming. Before coming to Excel Tech, man after my own heart, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but you have experience working with at-risk students and students with severe mental health disorders, including in a secure treatment facility, and I know what that's like. You've taught summer school, helping students to master algebra. You've coached the middle school football and wrestling teams. And Mr. Bishko writes, Bill has the innate ability to make connections with the toughest students. He has the skill to take mundane topics and transform them into real-world applications. So I read a little story in your narrative about this young man who complained that he owed $5,000 in taxes. Right? Am I getting this right so far? Okay. So this was during an actual tax finance lesson in his course. So the kid said, or the student said, hey, I think I have to take a lien out on my car. Well, Bill said, well, let's talk about this. So one thing led to another, and after you worked with him, you need to be my tax accountant. You found out that he overpaid by $4,000. Okay, that ain't bad. Congratulations. Thank you. And finally, Christina Wayner. So Christina's a fourth grade teacher at Lander for the past 5 years or so. Okay? And Christina has changed just about everything in her classroom. Okay, from the way it looks to the way she teaches to what the kids engage in, how the kids engaging it, and is really one of our leaders and forerunners in the innovative practices that we have here in Mayfield City Schools. But I'm not going to go through all that. Instead, what I want to do is I want to close by reading a couple pages of her narrative to you, because it really moved me. And I think it really kind of sums up, in a way, what Mayfield City Schools is all about. So, will you hang with me on this one? Okay. I feel, so this is ... right, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, because Christina wrote me like a book. Okay. No surprise there. I feel I must preface it with a short explanation of why I am at Mayfield City School District to begin with. I have 4 beautiful children. All of my children are wonderful, including Betsy. Betsy, where are you? Okay, Betsy's in 8th grade. She didn't want me to leave her out. Okay. All of my children are wonderful human beings, but I have one that others sometimes struggle to understand. My oldest son is Ben. As a young child, he was enchanted with learning. He was speaking in complete sentences at 18 months, was reading by 3 years old, and could multiply and divide 3-digit numbers in 1st grade. He has a photographic memory and a deep abiding love for science and nature. I watched him embark on his educational journey with high expectations. Ben did not thrive at his schools. In fact, year after year, I watched my once joyful learner begin to hate school and to dread going there. I only received phone calls about my child's deficits, faults, and misbehaviors. He's on the high end of the spectrum for autism and would fall under the category of Asperger's syndrome. His IQ is very high, but he struggles socially. Both Ben and I began to dislike school based on his experiences. When I decided to go back into the classroom full-time, I wanted to be a teacher that Ben never had. Big motivator. The teacher that looked beyond the social awkwardness and behavior and saw the kind heart he had to bury from the bad experiences he had all of his previous schools. I wanted to be the teacher for all the Bens out there, and you are the teacher for not only the Bens, but everybody else too. The teacher who encourages further curiosity and lets students express what they learn to others. I wanted to spark creativity, grit, and lifelong love of learning in all my students. I applied for a long-term substitute position as a reading intervention specialist in June of 2013. After a rather intensive interview process with Felicia Evans and Brian Stevens, I was hired. Imagine my joy when I realized I had landed in a school of teachers that I wish Ben had had. And I think I can say that about every single school we have in our district. I was surrounded by teachers with a passion to help children become the best versions of themselves. That really says it all about Mayfield. Christina, congratulations. One more round of applause for all the teachers who are attending. Great job.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, thank you, Dr. Kelly, for reading a little bit about all of our tenured teachers, and congratulations once again to all of you, because it's all of you that make us so great. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. I think one more round of applause for all of
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I know that there's a lot of little people who would probably like to get going home, so we're going to take just a quick, no?
Ms. Grosek, would you mind if we took the action first to
Oh, I'm so
grant
sorry.
continuing contract status
we
before we
darn.
dismissed everyone?
Yeah, if we don't, you don't get changed.
If we don't, yeah.
Then I got to read all that over again.
That would be like a total bummer. You guys would all leave. And, bye. So sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted them to, not sleep well. Motion to approve.
So moved.
And roll call?
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess, Mr. Hughes, Mr. Teresi, Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Now we will take just a short recess. Now that you know, you really made it. And congratulations once again.
Congratulations.
Right.
I knew you had identified with that one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, right?
Congratulations.
Are we good to go?
Oh, yeah.
All right. The next item on our agenda is community communications. This is an opportunity for people in the community to bring things before the board as an educational piece for us. No one contacted us ahead of time. Is there anyone present who wanted to speak to as an agenda item?
Really?
There being none, I will move on to President's announcements. My biggest announcement is that we're almost there. We're coming in the home stretch. There's all sorts of celebrations going on all of this week and from here until eternity. So I'm pretty excited about that. Board member committee reports.
None tonight.
And tomorrow is CVAC.
Feedback.
So we've got that going and various other ones that are going along the way. And I will turn it to you, Dr. Kelly.
Yeah, just two quick things. I want to congratulate Mayfield High School and Mayfield Middle School for being Cleveland Clinic banner schools for their work. The high school for their work in the World Classrooms program and the Expressions program. And for the middle school, they were involved in the Adventures in Health Science, Medicine, and we're also involved in the worldwide classroom. So congratulations to the middle school and the high school for being recognized by the Cleveland Clinic. Outstanding programs. So great work, you guys. Great work.
Nice job. That moves us to the superintendent's consent agenda. Do I have approval for items A through E?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Dr. Kelly.
Okay. At this time, we have two new assistant principals that we'd like to introduce you to. Mr. Fetchick, would you like to introduce Jalen?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Jalen Brown is going to be the new assistant principal pending your vote at Lander Elementary. Jalen comes to us from Milkovich Middle School, which is in Maple Heights, where he taught social studies. I taught social studies as well, so I knew he was good from the beginning. Went through a process of, and Stephanie as well, who you'll meet in a second, we had over 100 applicants for both positions. So it was an extensive search. I give a lot of credit to Mrs. Evans, who couldn't be here tonight. Tonight is her son's preschool graduation. And there was quite a bit of work by administrators, so it was an impressive search to find a quality candidate like Jalen. A little bit about Jalen, besides his teaching pedigree, he is the oldest of 7 kids. So you'll notice that he's thin, so he was obviously the slowest one to the table. And another interesting fact that I just found out today, Jalen just bought his first house, so congratulations Jalen on that.
Congratulations.
Dr. Kelly and I had a chance to talk to Jalen interestingly enough, he was invited by Jim Renacci, one of the legislators, as part of his work with the Cleveland Leadership Summit, working with at-risk youths in inner city Cleveland, trying to empower males to take leadership roles, was chosen to attend a State of the Union speech by President Trump. So Jalen was able to attend that and represent Northeast Ohio. So I'd like to welcome Jalen to Lander and Mayfield City Schools. Thank you.
Jalen?
Thank you all for this opportunity. It's awesome to be here. I'm so excited.
We're happy to have you. Welcome to the family.
Indeed.
All right.
Craig?
Yes, thank you. I want to introduce Stephanie Cicerci. Funny story this morning. So we had an ILT meeting this morning, and I mentioned to them that Stephanie was, pending a vote, going to be approved as Millridge Assistant Principal tonight. And they said, "How do you say that name again?" I said, "Cicerci." I said, "Can you say that a little bit slower?" I said, "Cicerci." So I automatically sounded out and think, well, she might be Mrs. C by some of our kids. Although we do have a pretty heavy Italian population in the district, just a little bit, so I think we'll be okay. But she is here with all three of her children, her husband, and her family. Wearing the right colors, which I think is great. I think that, for sure. But Stephanie, as Andy mentioned, went through a very rigorous and thorough process, and she came out on top, and is going to be a wonderful fit at Millridge. I'm really looking forward to co-leading the building with her, and she is all about kids. Kids was probably every other word coming out, during the interview process, and so or kiddos, and so we're really fortunate to have her here. She is going to be, like I said, a great fit, kid-centered, relationship-oriented. Came from Ursuline, where I went to school as well for our masters, and so we have like minds there. And I know that it was unanimous. The group that was assembled together, over 20 staff members got a chance to meet her as a part of the process, and it was unanimous. So we're looking forward to hopefully getting her on the court for a staff fifth grade basketball game here, because she was an athlete, student athlete at Baldwin Wallace for undergrad, and so came from a coaching background as well. I think what did it for me was one of the recommendation letters that I read was from one of her athletes. And so that says it right there. So she's going to be a great fit, so we're looking forward to having her.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I am beyond excited, and I have to tell you, after hearing all the wonderful things that our educators do in this district, just make me more excited to be part of this family. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So glad to have both of you as part of the family, and it'll just be a great time from here on.
Thank you.
All right. That moves us to other superintendent's business and the preschool handbook. Motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Panaro.
Yes.
And next, the elementary school student handbook.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Panaro. 1 second. Okay. Ms. Grosek.
Yes?
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Panaro.
Yes.
Which moves us to the middle school student handbook.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Panaro.
Yes.
And item D, not a handbook. The, yes? Want to stop for a minute?
Mr. Lee.
Is it okay? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I know that administrators are important, but our teachers are even more important. So I want to introduce Alexandria Kerman. She's going to be teaching math at Mayfield High School next year, and we are so blessed to have her. She's coming to us from Newberry. She has 3 years experience, but you would think that she has 20. She's blown us away with her lesson design, her student engagement, and we are just beyond excited to have her here with us. So, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for stopping us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very excited to be at Mayfield.
We're glad to have you. Thank you. Okay, next that moves us to the Alliance for High Quality Education membership.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
And moving on to the treasurer's report, we have the financial statements for April 30th, 2019. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
And my favorite, donations. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
And more donations.
We know how much you like them.
I do.
Fenaro?
Yep.
Thank you.
And it's-
Mr. Hess, thank you.
roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
Which moves us to the 5-year forecast.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
And the construction manager at risk amendment.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hess, I keep looking up and down at the same time. And I'm just, it's I don't know. I don't know what's going on in my mind, I'm sorry.
It's okay. In other treasurer's business, we have the minutes of the board meeting of April 24th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
And in other business, we do have a memoriam for Mr. Jack Hunsberger, who passed away peacefully May 4th, 2019, at the age of 88. Mr. Hunsberger served at Mayfield City Schools for his entire career in education from 1954 until he retired in 1980. He was once named Teacher of the Year. So our condolences go out to his family and friends. Next, that moves us to adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Grosick?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Teresi?
Yes.
And Mr. Fenaro?
Yes.
That's a wrap.
Congratulations.